What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Welcome to Coffee Code and Chat Friday night edition. What are we gonna do? We're gonna continue with our remix journey. So I went to a meetup not too long ago, and I really enjoyed what I saw. So I just recently, I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon too soon, but then I saw some of the cool things that people are doing with remix, and I got like really excited. So today we're going to continue like what the hell is remix, where basically I'm trying to go through the docs, build something cool, and learn what we're doing. So last stream, what we did is we started to, I started a brand new remix project. We were able to get the basic routing to work. And so today I wanna take a look at how to fetch data from an API. And everybody knows me, everybody knows that I love Strappy, everybody knows that I love working with CMSs. So we're gonna see if we could get some data from Strappy CMS. I'll show you how to set that up. It should be pretty quick. And not too long ago, I saw somebody that, my music's probably too loud. Let me tune it down a bit. I don't even know how to use my music here. But somebody created an awesome application using Remix and Strappy as a CMS. And I was really impressed with how quickly they were able to do it. So it got me thinking is, wow, maybe, obviously Next.js is awesome. There's so many other technologies that you could use, but just seeing how you load data with Remix and a couple of other features, and I'm still learning about it. It's actually a pretty good stack to create websites. And if you're building your own personal project or you're working as a freelancer, this is actually a good tech stack to consider. And the person that I talked to, they had a client who used to use WordPress. And so what they did, they wanted to move away from PHP. They wanted to do something a little bit, JavaScript related, because they wanted everything to be in one language. And so they basically did their front end with Remix, and they did their back end with Strappy. But it doesn't have to be Strappy. It could be any CMS. And of course, because Remix is a full stack framework, you don't even need to use a CMS. You could create the back end functionality yourself. But I'd like to do things easy sometimes. And another benefit of using a CMS is because it allows other people to manage content easily. Imagine you have content managers or editors. Like if you creating the backend yourself, all that stuff, all those features you would have to create yourself. But because you are don't want to spend time doing it, why not stand on the shoulders of giants? And so that's what you do. So we got Coder Nerd here. What's up? Good to see you. I'm coding after 40. Me too. It's awesome. And then we have Francisco JS. What's up? Hi, Paul. Yeah, so we're just gonna jump in. I'm kind of like just starting the project, see where we end up here. And we'll do a quick overview of what we did. And let me kind of figure out my music situation here. So let's see my phone. Oh, the battery's dead. I guess whatever, it's fine. Let me find some music to play. I really want to play music. I don't know why. I think it's fun. So before we get too busy, and let me know, by the way, if my audio's too ridiculous or not. Like, can you hear my voice, or is the music drowning you all away? And Coder Nerd says hi all. Yep. Hey everyone. And so let me just figure this out. Okay, because I want to play some music while we hang out. You know what I mean? Actually, this song that's playing in the background, that's kind of like the show entry song, but it keeps playing on repeat. So I need to find something a little bit more exciting that we could play. So let me go to my Computadora, find some stuff. And Brian, what's up? How's it going? How's building your project going? At some point, I'm going to have Brian come on and share what he's building. I think it's pretty awesome. He actually had a pretty good idea. And the cool thing I like what Brian is building, it's a thing that actually solves a problem, and I'll have him chat about it when he comes on one of these episodes. And then I know we have a bunch of guests lined up. I've been kind of like really bad with keeping up schedule with the streams because I'm just getting back to it, but we're gonna get it. No excuses, we're gonna do. But like, let me turn on some music. We'll review what we've done, and then we'll continue working on whatever it is we were working on, which is learning Remix. And so if you've never done Remix, this is a cool show for you to watch, because I've never done Remix too. And so we could all struggle together. And by the way, one of the best ways to learn when you're coding is to actually build something and to struggle through the process, because believe it or not, doing and being stuck in tutorial hell forever is very easy to do. And you could basically practice doing tutorials, which is not practicing building projects from scratch, if you know what I mean. So the best decision I made when I started to code, eventually took me a while to make the decision, so don't think like I'm like super smart or anything, because I wasted a lot of time doing tutorial hell. But when I forced myself to start to do projects from scratch by myself, struggling through them, that's when I decided, I'm like, wow, that cut off pretty quickly. I decided that I'm gonna, just force myself to build stuff from scratch and work on it and make it happen, and like struggling building stuff from scratch. So one of the things that I started to do now is actually going and looking through the documentation first, using it as reference, trying things out, breaking things, and kind of being like, oh, does this work? Does it not work? Like, what is the process? What is happening? And going that whole route. And let's see here. I'm trying to figure out why my music's not working. Nothing's working on my computer right now. Oh, something's working. Can you hear the music? Let me know, because I can't hear it. I got a new mic and a new router thing for audio, and so I have no idea how half the stuff works. So let me know if you hear background music or not, but that's perfectly fine. And we're gonna go through it. So I'll look at the comments and see. And if you're just joining in, this is Coffee Code and Chat. We'll just hang out. So I'm looking at the comments, and let me know if you have any questions, if you want to chat about anything. And the most important part is just learning together. So CoderNerd says music is playing. Is it overbearing? Is it too loud? Let me know, because I want to make sure the most important part is you could hear me. And if the music's not playing, that's okay. I'm not going to worry too much about it today. Now it's gone. Okay, I got you. Let's try this out. Refresh, press play. And I must be having just something weird going on. But you know what? It's perfectly fine. It is perfectly fine. A bit too loud. Remix seems weird hard. Loud. Okay, what's loud? My voice? Let's fix this. You know what? I'm not going to have music. Forget music. As long as you can hear my voice. And Brian says he's good. Everything's been working good. Fantastic. So you know what? I'll figure out the music later. We don't need to worry about it now, because I want to jump to the code. So let's kind of get into it. And we're working on Remix. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. And this is the code that we wrote so far. I'll walk you through it in just a second. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to kind of get it started. I think I could do yarn dev. And no music now. Sorry, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out in just a moment. Ah, God, hey, this is what is happening. The cat's here. The music doesn't work. Say hello. Oh. Kitty, bye-bye. Anyway, this is the most unprofessional stream ever that you probably will watch, but I promise we're gonna do some good stuff. And I keep saying I make a lot of promises all the time. And let me do an experiment here. I'm going to try one more time to get the music to work. And if it doesn't work, you know what? No big deal. But I am going to give it one more. You know, like if you give up too early at whatever, and actually like I'm frustrated a lot of times. Like if I try something, it doesn't work, like giving up like makes me like a little bit like frustrated and upset. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to give up. I don't understand. All right, let's see here. Let's give it a try. Okay. I don't know. Let's try music with Bluetooth. Okay. Oh. There he goes. Oh. Man, that was way loud. Way loud. So I'm still learning how to use my stupid computer. It's like, what is happening here? Anyway, but we're gonna get it going. Mark, listen, we're not all professionals like you. Mark is a 10x developer. He's got an amazing stream, 25 years of experience. So I'm just amazed that he's stopping by to say hello. By the way, he does really good streams. He actually knows what he's talking about. So I definitely suggest checking him out. But actually, his streams are pretty wild, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, go watch Mark's stream and you'll be like, oh, yeah, it's legit. It's legit. So let me go here. Let me go to my music. Yo, this is a good jam. So whatever. But this is good. We'll wait. We always wait to see what's up. And before we really dive into the code, why not just to mess around a little bit and have fun? By the way, let me know where you're from in the stream. If you're just chilling. I'm like, how do I use my application here? So I have, okay, this is, you know what? I figured it out. Boom. Look at that. We got music going. Make it sound here. Nice. All right. Look at that. Back to our normal. So what are we working on? And again, it's probably too loud. Let me turn it down. You know, it only took me like a minute to figure out. Oh, yeah, France. That's awesome. I think I remember that. I saw some French. So when I was in Paris, funny thing happened. And so there's this show called Friends, right? And these people, everybody was French in France, right? And everybody's talking about the show Friends. And they were like, oh, I love Friends. It's such a good show. And then I came into the conversation a little bit late, right? I came to the conversation late. And so I didn't realize they switched talking about Friends. So I said, I hate Friends. But the way I said it, they thought I said, I hate France. And so everybody's like, oh, like, then what the hell are you doing in Paris if you hate France? I'm like, no, I hate Friends. And they're like, then yeah, like if you hate Paris so much, I'm like, no. I love Paris. I love France. I just hate that show Friends. But by the time I made myself, like, even explained myself, there was like 60 people there. It went all around the table. And then the running joke at Strappy, everybody's like, Paul hates France, which is hilarious. But with that being said, let's kind of dive into what we're doing here. So let me share my screen here. So here's our cool project. Welcome to Home Remix. And we have our routes. When you click the routes, it'll take us to the routes of our post that we did. And when you go back home, it'll take us back home. Coding before 40. I like that. You guys, you all make me feel so young. Oh, yes. No, but whatever. I'm good with it. I'm all good with it. But this is what we're building. And so let's take a look at the code here. Let me close this window down and kind of bring us to like where we are today, where we're starting from, and then go from there. So we started with represent coding after 50. We started with our basic remix project. And so I'm still learning remix. So if you think I'm an expert, this is definitely not the show for you, but we're going to explore it together. We're going to see what we did coding after bong hits. I don't know how you do it, to be honest, Mark. That's to me like so impressive. If I did it, I would just sit there and I wouldn't even be able to get past the cursor blinking. I'll be like, oh God, it's pretty impressive. I'm not denying it. And so here's our basic structure of our application. We could take a look at our app folder, and we're not going to go through everything because I probably don't know everything. But inside our app, we have our entry client TSX, and I don't know why I set this up with TypeScript. God save me. And then they have their entry server TSX, and you normally will not do anything here, which is perfectly fine. And then they have their root TSX file, which kind of brings everything together. And again, you're not going to do much here yet. And we literally start with the routes. And if you look inside the route folder and you look at the index TSX, this is our kind of main home. So this is where we are. Welcome to Home Remix. And we are here. We are here. We are here. We are here. And so if I go back to my application, this is basically what it is. And so what we did, we set up a basic route. Yeah, and that's exactly why they pay Mark the big bucks, 100%. And we set up this route here, which takes us to our blog posts. And within the blog posts, we have our nested routes. And notice how they're generated on the same page. So let's take a look quickly before we continue how this works. So we go back to our code here. And so we're in the main page and we have a link that takes us to this route. And this route matches this file, post.jsx. And this is when you post JSX. So when you go there, let me close this, not important at the moment. You will see this is where we are. And here we map through all over the links that we're getting for all our blog posts. And we're not getting them from the API yet. We're getting them from our fake data generated by this fantastic array of things. And so the way it works to get data in a Remix, we'll get to there in a second, but you could use their useLoaderData hook, which allows you to create this loader function where you could pass your logic to fetch the data. And currently I'm just getting the data from this array that we have here. And then we basically call that hook and we have access to the posts. And then what I'm doing, I'm iterating through the posts. When you click on the link, we have a slug that's being passed. And then I'll show you this here in code. So if you take a look here, you know, we're back. We are here on our post. So that map function that you saw, we iterating through our posts and we creating these links. And when you click on the links, what it's going to do, it's going to fire the next route, and we're passing our slug as a URL parameter here, right? So as I switch, you could see that the slug changes. And how are we accomplishing this at this moment in time? So if you look at nested routes, the way you would do it in Remix, if you have a main page called posts and you want to have nested route in it, you would create a posts folder, and inside that you would create this file here. And again, if you use Next.js, this is something that would be in the brackets with like slug or ID, whatever you want. So this is a similar way of doing it, except instead of brackets, they use a $slug. And whatever you call this, right, whatever you call slug here, when we go to that file here, inside this useLoaderData hook that's going to call our loader, we get access to the params. So the params will actually be the thing that we're passing as an argument in param. And what I want to say is this function here, this does not get called on the front end. This is actually being called on the back end. So if you want to console log this, you would do it. Let me open the, let me do it quickly here like this. it would console log it here. So just so you guys and girls and everybody else and could see from loader, let me do this just so we could do it. My microphone's right in my face that I can't see my keyboard. It's like, so I'm like getting used to my new setup. Eventually over time, I'm going to get used to it. It's going to be great. It's going to be good practice. And let me look at the comments here. Yep. Blah, blah. Remix doing its thing. Remix is weird. You know, I'm kind of falling in love with it slowly. I mean, I really like it. And I saw like some use cases for it, especially, you know, not even worrying about creating the backend yourself, like using a CMS. Could be Strappy, could be anything. But you know how I feel about Strappy. You could really quickly create websites for small businesses like super fast. And they will have an amazing backend where through Strappy, where they'll be able to change the content dynamically on their Remix website, which we'll eventually get into that. But we're starting baby steps. And yeah, Engine Boy says, I haven't worked with Next.js. That might be a reason I feel Remix is weird. Yeah, by the way, I used to argue with Mark all the time, like people should learn React first before going to Next. And then he kept saying, no, people should start with Next for many reasons. And you know what? Now I'm at a point where I'm like, yes, starting with Next.js is actually a pretty good thing. Would I say not to do at least one small React tutorial? Probably not. I would say still go JavaScript, learn React basics, but you could like skip that step and learn React through using Next.js. And that's something that Mark will tell you that you should do, that you shouldn't even worry about React. And he has strong opinions, which I understand. That's perfectly fine. And then Luke saying, just finished an insane sleep-deprived 14-day sprint at a hell job. Still on lead code all Friday night grinding. That's funny. I can't even pronounce that. Regarding you saying that you hate it. I didn't. It was Friends. It was the Friends, the show. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Kevin Doyle, what's up? Kevin Doyle, good friends of us. He and Bobby run Code Foundry. Great place. By the way, I did a little bit C# and ASP.NET, but I'm mostly React and JavaScript. But I now unfortunately don't have as much time, but I used to go and watch their, at the time it was Tuesday and Thursday live stream that they did during lunchtime. It was phenomenal. And they give so many amazing tips for new developers starting out. And what I really loved about their channel is that even though they operate a bootcamp, they do not push. They're not trying to push to sell you. And the way they talk about it is like in the passing conversation. You wouldn't even know as much like that they were like aggressively trying to get you. And I really appreciated it because they give a lot of value upfront first. And because they know people that are interested, they're going to be interested, they're going to join. And people that are not, whatever. And so I really like that approach where it's like value first, help first. And that's how I became like a big fan of Bobby and Kevin. So check them out at Code Foundry. Like fantastic. What's up, Jose? Brian, just noticed I upgraded the mic. I upgraded a bunch of stuff because, not bunch of stuff, two things. Because, oh my God. But I feel like my desk setup is good. I need to get like some soundproofing, whatever. My room is too echoey. I don't have enough furniture. So this is going to be the new time for the live stream on Friday because I live in a small apartment now. And so I have neighbors. So Friday night, I don't want to go too late. So this is going to be the time. And then I do a stream Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. US Central Time. Nice. And then, but it calls next, like learn after you learn React.js. You got this. Yep. Did you run the bug tracker? I'm going to do it after the stream. I don't know what time it is for you there. Like if you're around after the stream, we could jump on and chat about it because I definitely want to do it. Show us that chair. Yeah, Kevin's hilarious. So Kevin, he put we'll get to the code, I swear. Kevin put this amazing post of this amazing chair he got. And somebody else was like, also telling me, you got to get a good chair. I had a conversation. So I only have one chair in my house. And I'll have to show you like like, because it's priorities. I wanted to get my streaming set up first before investing in a chair. So he's like, show me the chair. This is high class chair. This is what you work with. And you can probably hear how echoey my room is, but that's what it is. That's how why I make the big bucks. So anyway, we were talking about the code. And so here's the thing that I want to show you. Let's go back to the code, and then we'll come back to the chat as well. So as you can see here inside the code, what I was showing you earlier, even though we're working here in our next Remix application, this loader function that we have is a special function that actually runs at the back end. So when I console log the slug, I'm also console logging the post here from the hook. Let me delete this for a second. And then refresh. So you guys and girls and everyone could see. I'm better remember to do that. Yeah, let's do it after the stream. Engine Boy, yeah, 100% will connect because Engine Boy built a really cool bug tracker, and I want to showcase it. And he used React and Django, I believe. So it'll be cool. And I'm not familiar too much with Python, so I want to kind of practice with it a little bit more. But we want to showcase it hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow is going to happen. But anyway, you could see the console like here, right? And it's coming from this loader function that is literally running on the back end. And this is where we would add all of our logic to get the data from the API. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. And so you're probably wondering, what API are you going to use? Like, what are you going to use for an API? Because you could clearly create a backend within Remix, but I want to build things fast. And I want to build things, like if you want to build a coffee shop website, you want to build something, I'm sure you could build an e-commerce store as well, but any place where you have other people outside the developer who's going to manage content, right? Why, like, you can't build it yourself. You could, I get it, but you could stand on the shoulders of giants. And I love Strappy. So what we're going to do before we get too far, like this is running, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at this code here. We're going to go to our index, our post JSX, because I decided not to use TSX because I don't want to worry about TypeScript at the moment. Let me move my head here. And what we're going to do, we're going to kind of break things for now, because we're going to actually, let's not break it yet. Let's see if we could first get our data. So let's quickly set up a backend. Coda nerd. Oh my gosh, just got an email of someone that want me to help them with Laravel project. No thanks. Yeah, no thanks. No, I mean, if you know PHP and you know Laravel, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's true. Chairs don't have to look like they were ripped out of race cars. And the chair that you got and somebody else I saw got a chair, they're like very, not aerodynamic. What's that word? Ergonomic. And they're perfectly designed to make sure that you don't wreck your back, when sitting in it. But anyway, let's get into it. So first thing I'm going to do is I don't even know where I saved this project, but I am going to set up an API really quickly right now, show you how to do it. So we're in Remix Strappy inside CD live stream. So this is my Remix app. That's where we are. So what I'm going to do, NVM ls, no, I know I have NVM use 16. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to run npx create Strappy app at latest and call it Remix API. This is going to be our API that we're going to use. And I'm going to click enter, and it's going to say quick start or custom. If you click custom, we actually support TypeScript now, which I'm not going to do. TypeScript is awesome, but for the moment, I'm just going to say, let's just stick with JavaScript, and we're going to stick with SQLite. Yes, sure. And then we're going to create this. And let me make this bigger so you can see. So I'm literally going to create a quick API for us to use for our Remix application to figure out how to load data. And we're going to do this on the stream right now. And by the way, definitely don't be shy and chat. Throw stuff in the chat, whatever you want. You don't even have to smash the like button to leave a comment. You know, we just take it easy. We don't go crazy here. And so, yeah. And if you're enjoying the stream, you can just like wave your hands up in the air and be like, "Yay, it's pretty awesome." Luke says, "You always have super cool lights." Yeah, I actually bought them on Black Friday, and it makes the background look cool because I'm all about being cool. So basically, check this out. We're done loading thing. So we go to CD remix. Let's say yarn build. I think it already built automatically, but usually when you set up Strappy, you used to like build a UI, you run yarn build command. And then once this is all set, I'm going to show you what you will see. And we're going to quickly set up a quick API for us to be able to get data. So I'm going to run yarn develop. But actually, I was going to open it in code editor, but we won't even have to write any code on our back end. So I'm already running a project and port 1337. Wow, I have too many windows open. Do you see how many windows I have open? This is ridiculous. Let me just close a bunch of stuff. Or let me go to here. Like normally you wouldn't have to do anything, but I'm too lazy figuring out which window is open. So I believe I could go to config, admin, no, server. I believe it's in server. Yeah, so I'm just going to switch it to 1338, you know, close this. We don't need it. And then let's run it again. Because I just want to get to the back end. I want to get it done. I want to get it going. What? And this is what I'm talking about. Server wasn't ready. Did I not save it? This is so fresh. Oh, I know what it is. Hold on a second. So port 1338. Is probably getting it from somewhere here, from the env file. See, and this is like I'm telling you, like struggle is real. But anyway, see, perfect. Everything's built. Everything's nice. So check this out. This is what you get. And outside of me being too lazy to exit out of another terminal that I have running, this is what we get. We basically get instance of Strappy in literally 2 minutes if I wasn't messing around. So what I'm going to do is create a user. My password is monkey with some numbers like monkey 123 exclamation for everything I do. And then boom. So here's our back end of Strappy or front end of Strappy. And we could go to content builder, and I'm going to quickly create a post for us. I'm going to go to create a new collection. I'm going to call it post. Click continue. And what should our post have? It should have a title. My mic is like right in front of my face. There's advanced settings, like you could make stuff required, unique. This is cool here. You could do a check by throwing a regex expression here, but we're not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to say add another field. So we have title. Then we want to have our content, which is going to be rich text. So content, add another field. Let's do a unique identifier, which could be our slug. And we're going to have it tied into the title finish. So it's always going to be unique. And then I'm going to add image. I'll just add one, but you could do multiple. And what it also allows you to do, as you could see, video, audio, all the rest of the files. We're just going to stick with images, finish. So we have title, content, slug, and image. Save. And so now I just modeled my data, which is pretty quickly and there's a lot of cool stuff you could do. This is not going to be a Strappy tutorial, but I just wanted to show you. I need a back end, and I'm setting up literally one really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and add some content types. Title. Let me move my mic. First post. Hello from first post. And then we're gonna have the slug. Let's add a picture, add more assets, browse files. Do I have any files that I wanna add? Why not? We'll add this. Open, upload, finish. So that's good. Save and publish. And then let's add another post just so we have two things to look at. And let's create a new intro. Kevin says, you're too late. Man, I have late. Like, I'm going to have to look up that word. I was like, for a second, I thought you said you're too lit. I'm like, no, I'm straight edge. I don't do anything crazy. You know, but anyway, this is our second post. And again, I'm just for the sake of adding data. Second post. Sounds good. Let's add another picture here. Let's use another one. Add more assets. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Remix part 2. Upload and save. Finish. Save. Publish. And so what we just did is we created 2 blog posts, and now we could get these posts. But before we do that, Strappy out of the box is locked down. And so you need to go to roles and you have your permissions. You could make authenticated or public. We're going to keep everything easy today. So we're going to say public. And so what I'm going to do in my post, and I want to say that I want to find one and find many. And this is going to be our endpoint, and we'll test it in a second, but let me save it here. And the app that I actually like to use to test API calls, I don't know if you use it. It's called Insomnia. I know a lot of people like using stuff within VS Code. They're like, VS Code could solve every problem I have. Yes, it can, but I really, this is the wrong app. It's not, I meant to open this one, Insomnia. Okay. Open, add bigger. And so the endpoint that we're going to use is actually from the last different project, but I called everything the same. So Strappy created this endpoint for us called posts. We're gonna populate all the fields. So I'm gonna click send. And here we go. We have our first post. It has our image and it has our second post in there. So we're getting the data. So this is pretty amazing. So we literally just set up an API. And if I want to get one post, right, I would do /plus.id. In this video, we're not going to cover how to use the slug. That's on a different time. So notice we're getting the first post. If I want to get the second post, I would put ID too. So we're pretty much all set. So now what we're going to do, and Engine Boy, you're absolutely right. This is one of the reasons why I love Insomnia, is because it is very light compared to Postman. And to me, I felt like Postman had too much stuff and it constantly was messing with my concentration because it was like, what is all this stuff? I don't know. And I really love the clean design of Insomnia. So look, our API is set up, Riyadh port. Interesting. Hold on a second. Wait a second. I thought I changed the port to this one. I think I have 2 Strappy apps running, and sure enough, I do. So we're using 1338, but somewhere on my computer, I have a terminal open that has another Strappy instance at 1337. And you're probably wondering, Paul, why you have so much Strappy instances open? Because every backend thing that I need to build, I always use Strappy because it's easy. And now I work there. But I've used Strappy prior to working there, and I still do. There's a lot of cool things. We're not going to waste, I was going to say waste of time. It's not a waste of time, but we're not going to talk about backend. We basically just wanted to set up a quick API so we could get to our Remix app. So let me close this. We don't need it. We'll save that. We don't need the dashboard anymore because we know we're getting the API. So now we're back in our Remix application. So when in doubt, like, what do you like when in doubt? Like, people like, Paul is so smart, he knows everything. Like, what does Paul do when in doubt? And literally you go to you learn to use documentation. So I'm just going to do Remix documentation, and there's plenty good tutorials. Like Can't See Dots has a great tutorial on YouTube. But when learning to code, what I like to kind of have everybody do is literally use the documentation, try things out, let things break, And when they break, believe me, when you fix it, the lesson will be remembered 100%, because once you struggle and you beat your head against the table for a little bit, you're like, what the hell? And so let's search loading data. Look at that. That's amazing. You search loading data, and here you go. Here's the example straight up to kind of like what I'm using in my code. Why does my code look like that documentation example? Because this is how I'm learning Remix. I'm using documentation. I'm going through the process. I'm trying it out. And so here they show you how the useLoader hook works. Whatever happens here inside the loader, whatever you return, you get access to it in your front end portion of your application using the useLoaderData hook. And so that's how you get the data, and then you're able to iterate through the data that you get, and it's fantastic. So what does Remix use to fetch the data? That's a great question. And I think they have fetch API, not use fetcher. I didn't get that far. I don't know what that means. Use fetcher. That's my gosh, I thought I could look up fetch. I know that's what they use. So get data from API, get data from API. Let's see. Use blah, blah, get data, expect errors, data to get back from useLoaderData. You can start up blah, blah. API routes. That's probably something different. Okay. So they show you could use this. That's fine. I just want to say, I think function loader get reports. So, okay. So what they're doing here is they're moving the logic to get the data or into different functions, but we're going to take a very simple approach here. I just want to see where it is in the documentation. Web fetch API. That's what I was looking for. So this is kind of what we're going to follow. We're going to follow using just the fetch API that you have available in your application to be able to get the data, and it's available globally, and you could literally put this inside of your loader function that we were working on. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's go back to our code here. And so in our code, we're going to go first get the list of all the posts so we could generate that link. So what we're going to do here, so my app doesn't break, I'm going to do this for now. Const posts equals empty array, so I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to do what is the, I can't type, is this. So just going to kind of keep that here, and then we're going to console log what is this? What is this? Just so we could figure out. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to work here, and let me know if my screen is too zoomed in, not too zoomed in. So this is where we had hard-coded data that we're returning. So what we're going to do, we're going to delete the delete all of this. And then we're going to basically work on adding this logic. And basically what we're going to do, we're going to use fetch to be able to get the data. And for now, we're going to hard code the URL in here just for the sake of the example. But eventually you could store all the root URLs that you're working with inside the env. But I just want to start with the basics to get things to work and then refactor. So I don't try to build the whole thing just the way I want it. I just want to be like, can I at least get some data from our Strappy API that we just created and show it on the screen? So let's do that. So what are we going to do? We're going to have our response, and it's going to await fetch. And that's not our point, but I didn't want to type that, so I let my app autocomplete. But what we want directly is this here as well. And then eventually you'll move this to env variable. I just don't want to mess with it right now. I just want to make sure that it works. And so this is what we're going to call. This is the API that we just created. And what we're going to get back the data. And I just want to see if we could console log it. And then await response.json. And I want to see if this works. Like, I want to see if that works. Like, are we getting data and be able to see it? And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to console log data here from, no, it's coming from the response. Let me bring it lower. There we go. And so, and then I bet it's going to ask us to return something. So we're going to return our posts and we're going to throw the data in there. So I think this shouldn't blow up and fail. What do you think? Blow up, fail, not fail? Console, because I can't spell. Console is not defined. And then I fixed it. So back home, blog posts. So posts, we don't see anything because we are not passing in the data, but I'm more interested in, did we get this in the back? Can we see the console for it? Now, the mistake that some people make, if you put a console log inside the loader, you might try to search for it here on the front end, but anything that happens on the loader, it happens on the back end. So what we need to do is we need to open up the side here. Why is my mouse? Oh my God, I should have invested in a better mouse. Oh, Jesus. Mouse. Okay. Like, my screen is weird that I can't get to the top. I'm just blaming Apple's amazing engineering here. So now if we take a look here, and you could see here from loader, we getting null. So something's happening, but we're not getting the data. And as you can see here, spelling matters. When you put double dashes, it's probably going to break. So let's see again. And boom, look at that. Look at that. That just worked. I mean, it didn't just work. I mean, we struggled through it a bit, but whatever, we're just going to pretend it worked. You know, we just got this going. And so notice how we now get our data from our loader, which is showing up on our back end here, because this is server-side rendered, which is like amazing. And so we could close the screen because we know we're getting this data. And how do you access this data on the front end? Well, we're using the useLoaderData, and I don't think I need this JSON thing because we're just straight up okay there because we're getting it from the response here. Once you use the useLoader hook, whatever you return from this from this loader function is available to you from this hook. So what is this? I already typed that. And this should be available to us on the front end now. So if I go back to my application here, where did it go? Where did it go? I have too many windows open. Well, it went too far. Let me move it closer because I don't want to go so many times. Here. Here. So if you go to our application, we go to blog posts. Obviously, we're not rendering yet because we didn't write that there yet. Why is it so zoomed out? Zoom in. So check this out. We're getting our data at our front end, and that was so easy to do with Remix. No loading icon, no nothing. You just get the data, and I think that's like really cool. So let's quickly, before we move on, recap what we did. And then I know we're passing posts here, so I think we could do something like this. Posts, and then we should console log posts, and then this is gonna break. So because we gotta fix that in a second, because we're getting different data now, not hard-coded data, but from our API. So basically, the way you fetch data in Remix, which is super easy. Number one, you have access to this useLoaderData hook. In order for it to work, you have this function that you export, you call loader, and this runs on the back end. And you would put your logic that you want here. And you could also move this out into a different file and call it from there. You could call a file that calls your database or whatever, but we're just calling this third-party API that we have powered by Strappy. And literally, we have fetch that's available to us, and it's very easy to do. And we basically call fetch on what we need. We return that JSON file and we return it out of the loader. And then using the useLoader hook, we have access to it, to our post. So now if I'm gonna go back again and console log the post so we could see, look, here's our data. And in today's tutorial, we're not gonna make anything too beautiful, but we are going to kind of make it show up at least. And now in today's video, I'm not gonna talk about how to find things via slug in Strappy. We're gonna do it like super simple. We're just gonna do it with an ID, but the logic is very similar, but we'll talk about that next time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, let me see here. So we have attributes and then title. So we have the ID. So here we're going to go to our mapping function. Let me close this so you could see better. And so what I'm going to do for now, just so I could console log what we're getting there, I'm going to do this. So much fun, man. Coding is so cool. Like I love I didn't know how to use Remix, and then like you just jump into it, you give it a try, and you practice, you fail, you learn, and it's just so exciting. It's like so much fun. And I love it. I love it. It's just so cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to return this. And then I'm going to console log post. Just so we could see the structure of our post. We no longer need this console log. So we have the ID, then we have attributes. So because we're mapping, we want to make sure that we have a key that we're passing from our post ID. But here, what I'm going to do, just to make it easier, I'm going to do const. I can't talk and type. It's so annoying. So we want the title. We don't need the slug. Just get the title. And then it's coming from post.attributes. And I know that because this is where we see the structure that we're calling, right? So we have a title and we got the ID and perfect. So instead of a slug, I'm going to use ID and we'll fix this later. But for now, just for the simplicity of it. So basically our post plus the ID is going to dictate where we get routed to. And then here, we're just going to throw the title. But here, I'm just going to keep it slug because we're going to come back and switch it to slug. I'm just passing the ID instead as a param. And so now what we should see is we have our posts that are sent from our API. This is the most insane part of it. We took 2 minutes to create an API and then we added some content. So this is a Remix application that's calling an API that we set up in 2 minutes because we use the CMS. You know, because why build it from scratch when you don't need to? Depending on the, your job requirements, what you're doing, especially if you're gonna have other people that are gonna manage content. Like for instance, someone could be like, oh, I need to manage content. I need to add another post. I think we have it still running at local host 1338, right? Not 1228. I said 1338. Host 1338. Boom. We go here, open the administrator. This is just something we set up right now. That's not the user. My password is monkey. Monkey123. No, not monkey123. It's monkey with a big M. 123 exclamation point, and we're back. So here's our API running. So if I wanted to add another entry, right? Whatever, can't even spell. That should probably be one word. And then the cool part here, like here you could pass Markdown. And so you could write your whole blog in Markdown. There's other features that we have. Another post. Let's add, I don't have too many images, so I'll just use the same image for the sake of the quick thing. I click save, I publish. So this is the amazing thing. So by setting this up, you could have your content managers already start adding data to their backend that your front end is going to show while you're still working on building the front end. And that is super flexible to me. And so I just added a third post. So we go back to our Remix application. We refresh, and now we have our third post. So you had an editor that came in, made the changes. I think that's awesome. And by the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, don't smash it for me, smash it for the amazing comments that you're putting. And if you haven't left a comment yet, say hello, say something. Let me know you're live. Let me know you're here. And so we're getting our data. So now check this out. When we click on post, and we're gonna fix that in a second, but the most important part, it takes us to that route. Posts at 1, we go back, posts 2, and blah, blah, blah. So that's nice. That works. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change that. We're going to fix that. We're going to make sure that we're now able to get each and individual post from our backend that took us 5 minutes to set up. So let's come back here. So this page here, posts, is done. So we have our loader function that makes it super easy to get our data from our third API, CMS, what have you. That is pretty awesome. And then we're basically using the useLoaderData hook. Now we have access to the posts that we got from the loader data, and then we're able to pass it to our map function here and basically rendered it with traditional React stuff to our application. So this is amazing. So now what happens when you click this link, we pass this via the URL, right? The URL parameter gets passed. So now we go to our slug.jsx. This is where I originally, again, had the post hard-coded. So I'm going to delete the hard-coded part, right? We have the loader function here already, but we are going to do this. And I just want to, before we calling our data to get each individual post-based ID, I just want to show you that we have access here. And we saw a little bit of this last stream, our loader has the params argument already there. And so it automatically gets passed to us from the URL param. So we have access to that. So if I type in useLoaderData, and I believe if I do slug here, that should work. And then for now, let's delete this for now. Post ID is slug. And the reason why it's still called slug, because I named it here slug. If I rename this to ID, this would be ID. But I'm going to save it as slug for now because we're going to eventually use the slug. But for the sake of simplicity of this, we're going to keep it simple. So now when we go back to our application, we go to blog post. So first post, notice we now get ID. Second post, look at that. Third post, second, first, second, third, second, first. Look at that. That is fantastic. We're getting that from our params passing the URL, and now we have access. Now we could use this ID to make a call to the API to get that single post. And what's awesome about this is that we're literally going to be following a similar pattern as we did before. So I could literally copy this, go back to our slugs, and then go here. Now, it's not going to be posts, it's going to be post. And we're going to be passing posts slash, and then plus the slug. And you could do, string literals here, whatever, and then it's complaining that this is not a sync. Well, we'll make it a sync. S inc. I spell phonetically. S inc. Okay, a sync. And then what the hell's happening here? What is happening here? What are you doing? What are you doing? I didn't do that. Okay, so now, again, remember, this is being called on the back end. By using the useLoaderData hook, we have access to it in the front end. And this is going to be post. And then for now, we're going to console log post, make sure this works. Slug is not gonna no longer exist, so we're going to not worry about it. So let's go back here. Let's refresh. Okay, so check this out. First post, boom, we get it. We get the data for that single post. And so we don't get confused, let me go to the previous page and remove the console log that I have somewhere. Where did I put the console log? Oh, I bet I have it. Search console.log. Oh, I only have one. From Hook. Interesting. Hold on a second. Where's this stuff coming from? Hook? Oh, it's coming from. Okay, never mind. Oh, I see why. All right, because I had. Anyway, so here we are. We click first post, second post, and we see the data. I'm actually curious why it's console log again. Since you're only getting the data that we're calling, but I'm gonna have to figure that out later. But for now, at least, everything works. We're getting the data, so we could go ahead and display the data. And we're not gonna worry about CSS yet. I think next stream, what I'm gonna do, once we get the data loading, because I think it's like a pretty good part of figuring out what to do, we'll go ahead and add Tailwind, because Tailwind is super awesome. But first, I wanna make sure that we could get the data going. And then I'm gonna tell you, after we display the data on the page here, I'm going to tell you why what we did is super awesome. So we have content. And by the way, we could get a markdown parser, which we're not going to do today. We're going to do later, but you could parse your markdown to JSX. I think it's going to be awesome. Man, get some rest, but thank you for jumping in and stopping by. Love having you here. And why don't we use the other thing as a slug? So in order to use the slug right now in Strappy, when you call the find one method, that's what we are calling to find each individual post. It expects an ID. So if I want to use a slug, I have to create a custom controller, or we could use the previous method, which was to get all the posts, except you would pass param, say where slug equals to whatever the slug is. But we'll do that later. For now, just want to make sure that we get the data loading. But it's not it's not a lot of work to do that. I just did not want it to be more confusing than it had to be. But basic idea, we get the ID and we're able to get our post via the ID. So, and now what we're going to do, we're going to make sure we could see something. So we have attributes, content, slug, title. So here we're going to do something like const title. We don't have body, we have title, content, and slug. And by the way, if you notice something, we're missing something, I want to know if someone could spot what we're missing. We'll get there in a second. So let's make slug h2. Let's make our title is going to go here. I almost spelled something else. That was fantastic when spelling title. And then our content, I don't know why I clicked enter like an idiot. Our content goes here. And so we should be able to see our title change, slug change, and content change. So let's check it out. Let's refresh. First post, second post, whatever. And this is basically our data here showing up. And it's not pretty, but you could see that it works. We're getting the data from our API. And the reason why it's not parsing Markdown is because we don't have a Markdown parser. If we had one, it would be very easy. We'll do that in the next stream because I want to make sure that we focus on very particular topics. And today is fetching data, in Remix to make sure that you know at least the basic concept that we could build on. And when I say build on, let me learn more about Remix before showing other stuff, because I'm still learning. I'm still a student. You know just as much about Remix as I do, but it's still pretty awesome. And I'll tell you why it's awesome in a minute. But notice we're getting data. One thing we're not getting is we're not getting our image. And the cool thing about Strappy is that it has certain things that it will return, but any relationship like image or author or what have you, it doesn't return automatically. You have to ask for it. And that is kind of cool because it allows you to prevent overfetching, because you can only get the data relations that you need, right? Instead of getting a big object. So if I wanted to populate everything here, I would use posts right here after the slug. I have to do this, and then here. And there's other easier ways of doing it. I'm just doing it here for the sake of the example. Populate equals everything. Boom. I think that should work. So let's check it out now. Refresh. Let's first post, second post. First, let me console log the posts like they console. Refresh, and then perfect. Here we go. And now we have, you see, access to the image. We have the data attributes. And by the way, right now, the format looks a little bit nested, like data attributes, and we have attributes here. We have this because we're going to have additional features in Strapi that support, content versioning and all these other things. So we needed to create this type of data structure, but you can Strapi actually has this cool place, Strappy Marketplace. And this is another thing I love about Strapi. If something doesn't exist or you want to add additional functionality, they have a Strapi plugin store. And by the way, if you're learning to code, a cool thing to do is kind of get into like plugin development, because it's not something like a huge project. You could build something cool. And what's cool about Strapi, all the plugins are done with JavaScript. If you want to learn more about it, you could check out the documentation. But we have this plugin that if you install it, is going to change your response from the one that has data attribute, to simplify it and flatten it. So if your app doesn't require the additional features that Strapi has, what you could do is you could install this plugin and you will get the simplified return, which I'm not going to do, but I just want to show you that it exists. And that's another benefit of Strapi, is that if you need functionality, you could literally add it via plugin. And if the plugin doesn't exist, it's all in JavaScript, you could create it. So let's get our image. Our image was, let's see, so we have image data attribute, We're gonna get image here, and then do const image URL. That could check if it exists, but that's not how it works. We're not going to do that. But you could add a check here, but it was image dot data dot attribute. Refresh. Image data attributes, and then we had formats, and then finally URL. And then we have, let's do URL. And now if you notice the URL, by the way, notice how it says uploads and then the name of the image, because we currently storing the image on our Strapi. That's where it's all saved, but you can't connect Strapi. And this is something I recommend. If you want to store your images, you could do not Contentful. You could use Cloudinary, you could use AWS or Google. They're image providers, and that's pretty awesome that you could do that. But for now, I just kept everything local, so you don't have to mess with it. Formats.url, I believe. So, and then let's put an image thing here. And the reason why it doesn't work is because we have to make sure that we provide this part, which could be stored in an env variable. For now, we're not worrying about it because right now, like if you see how I work, my first goal is to get the simplest thing to work first. Make it work first and then refactor. Don't try to overcomplicate stuff. Don't try to do too much at once. Just take your time, get the basics to work. And once the basics works, you could build on it. And I'll show you, I'm literally gonna tell you why what I'm doing right now is like super important, because we did a couple of things. And then I'll tell you, like, we're not gonna do it on this stream because it's gonna take a little bit more time, but I'm gonna tell you what you can do to kind of jumpstart this project to where you pretty much have the skeleton structure and all you have to do is add additional features. Even though it's super simple, it doesn't really do much yet. But it's all connected, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But let me see if this worked. Let's see. It did not work. Maybe because I have to refresh. Whatever. I'm sure I'm missing a bracket somewhere. Let me console log. Select.image URL. My God. Too many buttons. Refresh. Oh, it's undefined. So I guess, like, you know, when stuff is deeply nested, it's easy to misspell stuff sometimes. Maybe getting that plugin to simplify the process would have been nice. Attributes. And then formats. Oh, I'm an idiot. Formats has other stuff as well. If you want a specific size, I think this is what we need. Perfect. And of course, we don't care about styling right now. Why? Because at another live stream, probably next live stream, what we're going to do is we're going to add, you know, Tailwind, because Tailwind makes everything better. But we could probably just do, isn't there like a height you could use? Let's say 300. This should work, right? With 600. Shouldn't this work? Yeah, that works. And so here we go. Our image looks fine. Boom, fixed. So here's the thing that I want to show to you. So we started by jumping in, learning Remix, right? And I showed you how easy it is today to load the data. Of course, there's more complexity, but we got the gist of it. We see the basics, you know, and we could talk about how to send data. It's a little bit more complex, but not by much, because it's literally the same way you would submit a form. Like normally back in the day, you used to do it where you have the action that takes you to our URL, and that URL will handle the request. That's basically what you do here. But what we did, we set up, like if you think of a website, right? Let's say, I don't know, any website. Let's say Starbucks. I hate Starbucks. I have a bone to pick with them. But let's say any website. I just want to kind of show you something. Okay, why is this so complex? Starbucks, bad website. Any other website. Okay, this looks better. So what this is, outside of like signing in and joining now, we could add that later. But if you wanted to make something where you just present the data, like you want to have this hero section, you want to have these parts, you know, the steps of how to get your rewards, like whatever. You want to have, you know, this section. You want to have this other section which displays this. All this is literally the same thing we just demonstrated in code here, where you're just getting data from somewhere. And here we're using the loader function. We have this access to useLoaderData, and we're able to get that data super easily. So any website where you just display stuff like informational website, literally based on what we did today, you could build by using Remix and that basic functionality of loading data. What's awesome, our content also has an API that it lives on. We used Strappy for our API. This now powers our website. Like all the posts that we are showing right now are coming from our API. Like for instance, if I unpublished, like I'm an editor, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. Like this post shouldn't have been published. I unpublish it, right? Click confirm. I go back to my Remix application back home, go to posts. Notice now we only have 2 posts. Look how easy it is now for me. So by combining Remix and the simplicity of how you can use it to fetch data with something like Strappy, a CMS, it could be any other CMS, you now have the power to quickly and fast make a website. And you could literally, if you were wanting to do freelancing and build, you know, coffee shop websites or gym websites, like if you go to ThemeForest, by the way, this actually, I think this is what I'm going to do. Like, let me know. I know it's not a lot of us watching, which is fine. But ThemeForest, let me know if this is something you'd be interested. Would you like to see me, let's say, find a template? Actually, by the way, I'm not even going to Tailwind Template. I'm not even going to like beat around the bush. Let's see here. Here's a Tailwind template, live preview, $19. You get the CSS. So literally we could take our remix, we could plug in this Tailwind template, and with the power of Strapi that took us literally 3 minutes to set up to host our content, we could start making, you know, websites for clients or building websites that we could like share with others and freelance with. And what's awesome, like for you, it's not that much work because it's more about like displaying logic. And then if the owner of the website wanted to add content, they would be able to add it here through Strapi as an editor, which is amazing. And so you could literally stand on the shoulders of giants and create that similar WordPress experience for people while using JavaScript technologies. And by the way, I'm just saying that as a simple example. We are obviously going to build it more complex application. We'll have authentication, logging in, adding data from your front end where you don't have to log into the back end, but it's already here, so why not? But what did we do? We set up our Remix application, right? We did it. We have our front end that's calling our API that we set up today, our back end, right? We have this going to us. So the next step would be we could just deploy this already. There's many ways to deploy Remix. They have their own thing. You could deploy it to Netlify. We could deploy Strapi to Heroku. And now you have a live deployed project, which is connected front end to a back end that works. And now it's just a matter of adding additional features and additional customization. So yeah, whatever. It's kind of weak right now because all we have is the ability to see the post that we get displayed. But literally we could set this up in 30 minutes if I wasn't struggling like I did. Because part of the amount of time that it took me is the struggle. And I realized I wasn't showing the screen. God damn it. But it's fine. So what I was saying is that we have our front end with Remix. We could push that to Netlify, or you could host it on Remix as well. We have our back end, right? We could push it to Heroku. And now we have a basic skeleton of a functional application, which we could use to create simple websites like a Starbucks website, or, you know, something like this, like a very simple example, because all of this is just display logic. You know, we're not submitting anything yet. And eventually we could add the forms and add all this additional stuff. But to me, that's amazing. And so we're going to continue the stream. I think next stream, what we're going to do, we're going to add Tailwind to make this a little bit better looking. And then what I'm going to show you is how to take a simple website. Maybe we'll start with a home page and we'll build a basic landing page. Like, let me see, like maybe I'll find some other examples. Why am I going to video? Search landing pages. I think it's really good to actually learn how to do landing pages. So we could find some sort of landing page. Look, this is $5. Get the CSS. Just find something with Tailwind, then you just plug it in. And so, okay, this is I don't like this. This is like what am I, a gamer? What is this? I love games, by the way, but that's not like a good example of a landing page. But anyway, instead of like talking too much, we could find a landing page that we want to build. Let's try it like this. Kind of looks nice, right? Like something simple, right? Something you would build for a client. And we could create this with Remix, and all of the pieces all of the pieces that you see here, this hero section, whatever this section is, and these things right here, and this area, we could have it be managed by Strapi through our components that people will be able to basically just add within Strapi, and the Remix application that we're building will be able to dynamically generate it. And so I think that's awesome. Anyway, I'm going to be on this Remix train for a bit because two reasons. I really like it. I think it's pretty awesome. I think it allows you to do certain things really awesomely. That's a word. And then another reason is that the power of being able to combine it with a CMS, which allows you to create small business websites super fast, super easy as a solo developer, especially when you combine it with Tailwind, because then you could find pre-built Tailwind themes and then literally map it to your Remix project, allowing you to basically build whatever websites you want for clients. And what I like about it, as someone who's learning, it's a great way to get started and to actually build websites that you could sell to clients. So if you're looking to do freelancing, it's a way to do it. If you don't look for freelancing and you just try to level up your skills to learn more about web development and front end, I think learning Remix is pretty awesome. And if you're wanting to jump into backend development, this is another reason I recommend Strapi. Is let me just show you here. I'm gonna kill my server here. Let me just make sure I'm in the proper thing here. Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly show you before we end the stream here. So here's our Strapi instance. I'm gonna open it in code. I just want to show you something really awesome. So you might not be a backend or full stack developer yet. You're learning, and learning full stack development with Remix is pretty awesome, but also using Strapi is pretty fantastic because all of this is available. It's open source. It's on GitHub. You could see the underlying structure of how this was written. And what's awesome when you go to Strapi, and let me make this bigger. Like for instance, when we created our posts content type, it created for us inside the API, this post folder, which automatically created the schema, right? It automatically created generic controllers, but you could create custom controllers yourself for whatever logic you want. It created generic routes through their factory function, but you could create your own custom routes and services. So if you're looking, and maybe you've done some backend development, it follows that structure that all the backend applications follow. You have your content type, you have your controllers, your routes, your services that are called by your controllers, and you little by little could learn through using Strapi how a backend is built and how it functions. And you don't have to make the changes, but you can. So you could learn how to do all these things while you're learning with Strapi, and you have a lot of resources because of Discord and all this other great stuff. And so anyway, enough of me talking about Strapi. Let's just finish up here by just seeing the proud that are still standing with us at the end of the stream. And I know these coding streams sometimes are boring, but there's two reasons why I do these coding streams. A lot of times people think like, Paul, like, why do you do these streams? Nobody likes coding streams. People like hot takes. People like, people saying opinions. People talking about like, how do you get a job after 2 months of, Python, whatever, and make bajillion dollars. But the reason why I do this, and this is something I recommend you do, is this concept of learn in public, build in public, make it available. So here's a cool thing. So I went to a Remix meetup and I just participated. I was like, wow. And then I was like, oh, wow, this Remix thing is actually a thing. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. And so the person that was running it, I was like, you know what? I'm just like, maybe I should ask if I could build something and then do a talk at a meetup, which is pretty awesome because that's one way to show experience and to practice talking about the code that you write. And I didn't even ask him. Like, I just literally tweeted. I'm like, hey, I went to this amazing meetup. It was pretty freaking awesome. And I'm super excited. I think I'm going to build an application with Remix and Strapi. And then he responded to, hey, if you build that application, I would love to have you come in and talk about what you learned. We love having people who are just learning Remix and talk about their experience. I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to do it. And so now, like, I'm live streaming because I want to practice coding live. I want to practice being able to run into problems and solve problems live. I want to be able to speak about those things clearly, because when you are on an interview, people are going to ask you about your code, and you want to be able to speak about your code clearly, like you know what you're doing. Also, I like this concept of building things from documentation, from scratch, trying things out, breaking things, because it helps you to remember those lessons to the best of your ability. Because if you make the mistake, like if you touch the hot stove and you get burned, you're not going to make that mistake again. And more importantly, I'm putting myself out there to engage the community and giving tips and feedback. And then I'm sharing my journey about the process, and I'm building relationships on Twitter through people who are engaging with the posts that I share. And so Can't See Dots, who is part of the Remix team, he's like, I like post, like he liked my tweet. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. You know what I mean? And it's kind of getting involved in the community. And this is how you could find opportunity and open doors. A lot of people do everything in a silo. They do everything in private. And if people don't know who you are, it's going to be really hard to get noticed and to get hired. But with that being said, if you don't have any other questions, what we're going to do is probably call it a day or call it a night. And I will be streaming tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, US Central Time. And man, I should have made that announcement beforehand. I'm like an idiot, forgot. Coding Addict, John Smilga and I, we're back at it. We're going to be doing our podcast tomorrow. Let me see the Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you could, Coding30 Twitter. But let's see here. I swear to God, I was on Twitter. Yes. So I'm going to copy this link. You could check it out. I'm going to put it in the chat here. But yeah, John Smilga and I, we're going to be back to a normal podcasting schedule. I think this is really awesome. A lot of people have been missing the Power Hour, which will be fantastic. But anyway, that's all I had for today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope it was edutational, taminational, something. And so yeah, it was a good time, a lot of fun time. Thank you for being here. It's going to be saved and posted online for you to return later and watch it later. And I really appreciate all of you. It's a Friday night. For the most part, people want to go out and do stuff. So whenever you're here with me, I know you're not going out. And so I appreciate it. And I don't anticipate a lot of people being on a Friday night stream, but I'm still going to be doing them because for me, this time works well. And I get to chat with few of you. And more importantly, this will be saved on YouTube and people could find it that way. But thank you so much for everything. And I will see everybody later. Peace out. Oh, that's like a jam. I can just jam here. Anyway, yeah, I'm out of here. Peace out.